What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Wingin It podcast. Jack, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Now we do have Andre, but he's otherwise indisposed at the moment. So as soon as he comes back, we'll bring him in. Yeah, I know y'all see the title, Straight Petty. Y'all probably know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So today we're gonna start off with a little bit of comedy. You know what? You know what? Instead of us talking, let's just show it.
Just show it to him.
Yeah,
do.
let's just share my screen here. Make sure to share the audio because the audio needs to be seen to be believed. And let's just share this, and then we'll come back and give our overall thoughts. How about that?
Right. Something had to have happened for them to show this.
Yeah.
Because this is self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory. So self-explanatory.
Like one of those infomercials when you're spilling stuff.
Yep. Okay, so as you can see,
Hey,
we had to show that because of the title of this episode.
Nintendo cares. That's why that we had to watch that.
Nintendo was being petty.
So, okay, look, I think this is two things. One, over the years, especially over like the last, I want to say 10, especially, there have been a lot of people claiming they love Metroid.
Right.
This game releases, you found out a lot of people been lying.
Yep.
A lot of people haven't played these games. You found that you figured that out. The other thing too is when you have a game developer come at you like that, and you're like, dude, really? You just go, okay. So basically telling everybody you need your handheld, and on top of that, you're claiming that we got bad game design. You use another game developer who's probably telling you, please leave us out of this. We ain't got to do with this.
Right.
Don't the developer who's inspired by them too.
Yeah.
Right.
And you really and I didn't think Nintendo was gonna do it, but yeah, Nintendo, yeah, they were like, all right.
That was the most
it's cool.
Response.
It's just funny.
I wonder how many times he got tagged in that video.
Oh, dude, you know somebody did it.
I'm pretty sure everybody sent it to him.
Somebody did it. Yeah, dude. I'm sorry, I was laughing too hard. I'm like, I shared this yesterday on Twitter. I'm like, this is too funny. This is
Man,
just too funny.
y'all might have to check and see if oh boy, all right, because
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure his ego's been hit a little bit on this
yeah,
one.
yeah. What's up, Janelle? How you doing, man? But another thing that I want to bring up too, just because I just thought about this, is okay. So YouTube has decided to get rid of the dislike button, and
Right.
some people actually believe that now, this is no BS. Some people really believe that Nintendo was behind them getting rid of it. I'm like, first of all, that Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack ain't the only Nintendo bit that's ever been ratioed to hell.
No,
The original
no.
Nintendo Switch Online one was ratioed to hell.
Right.
Federation Force was ratioed to hell.
Right.
The Pokemon one, Sword and Shield was ratioed to hell. Animal Crossing was ratioed to hell. Y'all are late to the party if y'all thinking this one incident made them go to YouTube and ask them to do that. That doesn't make any sense.
But why would YouTube care?
Yeah, YouTube doesn't. They're $1 billion company. Why the hell do they care about one other small corporation? That come on, man. So
yeah,
the only reason I bring that up is because I see a lot of people regurgitating that, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I get it. People looking for some type of rhyme or reasoning as into why they got rid of it. Because if I'm not mistaken, YouTube didn't give a reason why they're doing it.
No, they didn't.
So everybody's gonna just grab at whatever it is they can find. But being in the gaming community, that's the only thing that is logical. But I'm not even gonna go that route. But I'm just gonna say what's in their headspace at the time.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like, I don't mind it because I don't care. But my thing is, if you're gonna have a dislike button, they should actually have to. If you say it's for critiquing purposes, we know that's not the case. But if they say it's for critiquing purposes, then you shouldn't be able to dislike something without giving a reason.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Because I mean, we've seen it plenty of time before a direct or a stream even starts. There's already downvotes, and like nothing's happened yet. Yeah, it's like nothing's even happened. And now somebody has told me there is a reason why some people do it, because they will, I guess it will stop popping up as in like videos that they get recommended. Because if you don't, YouTube has their own weird algorithm as into what they think you want to watch. So I guess downvoting kind of gets that out of your space. But I feel like that's more on YouTube than anything. I wouldn't downvote a video just to keep it out of my algorithm. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I was like, look, and we all know the algorithm is weird because, like you said, you can go into a video and it's 1 minute in, and it's 200 likes and 50 dislikes, and it's 1 minute.
1 minute, yeah,
yeah, like, come on, man, the algorithm is kind of weird. So, I don't. I don't like that people are going around doing that just because it doesn't make any sense. One company doesn't have the pull like that to do that.
No, not even close.
They don't, especially not.
Point out one thing that may disappoint. I would like to point out one thing that might disappoint some people. When you hit the,
I think he froze out again.
The thing that you're disliking, you literally. Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, you freezing out, bro.
Give me 1 moment.
Gotcha. So while he's doing that, we're gonna get back onto roasting David Jeff now. No, we're not gonna do that. But yeah, so I will say this: the whole Emmy situation. I do like the idea of it. I'm just glad there were no black ones.
Hey, look. Hey, it should have been the last one. The biggest pest of them all.
The biggest, yeah. But I like the dynamic with that, just because of the simple fact that, like, in the game it actually turns into a film grain horror movie type deal. I kind of like that, even though they do get on my damn nerves. But I do kind of like the idea of how they did that. Other than that, though, little mini thing about Dread, I actually think the game is actually good, but I don't know how it's gonna dig into Prime 4, because Prime 4 is a little bit weird on the timeline of Metroid, especially if Dread is 5. Prime 4 should not be in the same timeline as that.
Okay.
Unless they're saying this Prime 4 is going to happen after Dread. It's just going to be, we're going to have two styles of games, 2.5D and 3D first person shooter, I guess.
Right.
Unless they do it that way.
I mean, the way I looked at Dread in itself, and maybe this is just me, but I've always liked games that kind of introduce new ideas that I personally myself have never seen. So when you look at something like Metroid, a lot of the back and forth that you have to do in that game, whether you get new powers and have to go back to revisit certain areas, that can become a nuisance if there's really like nothing that entices you to kind of go back or to do anything different. So the regular animals or characters or monsters that you fight within a game are kind of there. They're just whatever. Yeah. But the fact, like you mentioned with the Emmys kind of make you hesitant a little bit, makes you plan out a little bit. So it makes it enticing to be in that area. It gives you something to think about outside of a boss. Because there's what those, would you call them, the mini bosses? The little two things that pop up and you got to fight every now and again. They kind of like Raven Beak a little bit. Yeah. And then even the eyes thing too, to where you kind of recharge your weapon to go and defeat the Emmy.
Yeah.
But even with that, I like the idea of having like a tier of monsters, if you will, or a tier of enemies that you have to fight. And it ranges from something very simple, like, you know, those little annoying ass bats that fly down or whatever you call them, to an Emmy, all the way up until the actual boss for that level of the area, along with elemental issues within the level. It's just they found different ways to block you off other than just saying, here's an invisible wall. You can't get there yet. Come back later. Yeah. They say, hey, you can go there, but you're going to die. Yeah. And it's not a power thing. Yeah. Right. It's not a power thing. It's your suit can't handle the cold. Your suit can't handle the heat, or you don't have this move set yet. You don't have this yet. So they give you a reason to explore, come back. And I wish more games would do that. Now, I think it'll be a lot harder with an open world type game, but that kind of brings me to my next point of maybe they should dial down on the scope of these open world games.
Well, yeah, because when I think about like open world, I think like as long as the map is big enough, you should be fine. Like for instance, Halo Infinite's coming.
Okay,
it's supposed to be open world, but you're on the ring. You're not going to another planet. You're on the actual ring. So as long as it's open world within that ring, I think it'll be fine.
Right.
I think. And so I would say dialing back on some of that will probably be good. Trinell, you can think of the Prime series like that, like side stories, because the Prime series does kind of explain some of the lore, especially with the Chozo and the space pirates and things of that nature. Because there's a lot of people who really don't understand that the stuff in Dread actually, especially with the Chozo, actually got explained in Metroid Prime 1. As far as the factions and stuff, that actually got explained then. Which brings me to Metroid Prime. There has been a rumor going around that the trilogy did not get the HD remake, just one.
Right.
So here's my problem with Metroid Prime 1. I love that game. Don't get me wrong. But my issue with it is it's a whole lot of backtracking in that game, and there's no like travel system. So I think, especially today's gamers, you're gonna have to do a quality of life thing where you're gonna have to make it a fast travel thing, because people ain't gonna be trying to walk all the way back to the beginning of the game, because now you just got the one thing you need to go into the other room to get. They're not gonna want to do that.
Like, which I feel like they would do that, considering the fact that you see these other games. No, I'm talking about like as far as Nintendo doing the quality of life things. Because honestly, I mean, we just got Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword, excuse me, Skyward Sword. We've seen the quality of life changes with that. We see a lot of the games that they do implement quality of life changes. So I feel like Nintendo will give you that much. Now, if people are looking for like a full-on remake, I don't think we're gonna get But I think they'll do it enough to where they implement it to where it's up to modern standard, if you will.
Yeah, because that's my only thing about that. Because I think if you do what they did in Corruption, where you can actually there's a halfway point in every stage or every place you go to, and you can use your ship to fast travel. If you do it like that, I think it works better, because once again, Metroid Prime 1 and 2 for that matter, there's a whole lot of backtracking. It's one of those situations where I don't think people nowadays are going to want to spend 20 hours of the game backtracking.
Right. Especially when there's nothing like a Emmy situation or anything to make it more appealing to go back.
Yeah. It's just, you just got to walk back.
Right.
Yeah, Trinell, if they do, I didn't realize how much I've gotten used to gyro aiming until I started playing the N64 stuff on the expansion pack. Because y'all know I'm going through Ocarina of Time, and I was like, I forgot you actually have to stick aim. I completely forgot about that. I done got so used to gyro aiming that I'm like, oh snap, I got to go back to actually. So I've been having it, and it's fun because I got back in the swing of things pretty easily just because I know Ocarina of Time like the back of my hand. So it wasn't hard for me to get back into it. But I'm like, okay, I do realize now that I have gotten used to gyro controls to the point where I'm like, yeah, I kind of need them.
Yeah.
Now because I've kind of gotten used to it.
Gyro will change your life with a lot of things. It's it's one of those things of, hey, you got mouse and keyboard, gyro. Like you're not going to get any better than that. At least with controllers, you're not.
Yeah, that's true. Now, another thing I want to talk about tonight is on the subject of remakes, and we kind of actually had done this topic a couple months ago, but I want to come back to it just because, once again, like I said, I've been playing Ocarina of Time on the expansion pack, and I do have it because my 3DS still works, so I do have the remake they did on 3DS. But I was sitting back thinking, again, like, could a full-on remake work for like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, a la something like, not exactly like Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I don't believe in episodic. I don't believe in episodic mess. I just don't believe in episodic mess.
Right.
But if you do a remake like that, could that work? I kind of think it could on certain games, especially games at the 5th gen and below level.
Yeah, especially around that time frame. Because I mean, we've said before, 5th gen to me has to be the hardest thing to go back to. Those games ran very, very bad sometimes. Like, and they didn't age well. They really didn't. I mean, the story, the lore, and like the gameplay in itself may have aged well, but when you start looking at the graphics and how things ran, no, they didn't really age all that well. But if you're looking at a remake of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I think they would fit perfect. It just all comes down to, once again, quality of life changes, and then how much does Nintendo do? Because when I'm thinking of remakes or remasters, I'm never putting Nintendo in that category of 2K, what they did with Mafia, or Square Enix with Final Fantasy. I don't foresee them doing that ever. That's just not them.
Even though I would like to see what they would do with Ocarina of Time, given like making it look like that. Remember that tech demo they had for the Wii U of the Queen Goma fight? I would love to see Ocarina of Time look like that.
It'd be awesome. But we all know Nintendo. They're not going to do
that.
No. They might cell shaded, but
they'll cell shaded, but not that. And I was just saying though, like, just to if they were to do that, I think that would probably be cool. I don't know if I don't know if they would, but
I mean, honestly, if any company out here that could really,
I think they'll make their money though.
For sure.
Unlike Square, like Square be doing stuff and you ain't sure they're gonna make their money,
blowing the whole budget.
I think Nintendo will make their money back at the very least.
Nintendo has a few games right now. If they ever decide to say, hey, we want to take some extra time on, let's say, Odyssey 2 or another Splatoon or another ARMS, whatever, they literally can go back and just have a team remaster all their classics. And people would love it because it's brought up to time. You got new gamers that's coming into it. And it's, it looks good because I know a lot of people that would love to be in the whole talks of the classic games that we grew up with, but they can't because they just can't they grew up in the HD era. So when you tell them to go back to Super Nintendo, you tell them to go back to Sega, they're not trying to. Like even my son, my oldest son, he games on everything, but the thing is he can't do it. He just can't do retro gaming.
Which it takes a little, getting used to. What's up, Shadow Man? You all right? You keep going?
I'm good. I'm trying to manage. I got another macOS install I'm trying to run right now, and I'm running into issues, so I'm doing a little back and forth here, trying to figure out how I can get that installed. So
good luck with
that. Just waiting to get a Steam Deck to see how that runs on macOS too.
Didn't that just get pushed back?
Yeah.
He got pushed back.
So we were talking about remakes and stuff. So I was gonna give the floor to you about this. If they do F-Zero, do you think?
F-Zero.
I just don't think nobody look.
That's the thing that people won't buy, right?
I think that outside of the people like us that played the GameCube version, like GX and stuff like that, we'll probably get it. But I don't think the
people in general don't like that punishment. Maybe Excite Truck.
Excite Truck or like Extreme G, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't think people play F-Zero like that, man. I'm sorry. Can somebody in the chat?
People played it in the arcade though, which was crazy because it was harder in the arcade. AX was hard, but I guess because it was just 50, $1 or whatever you put in, and you get whooped, and then you go to the next game. It's a little bit more acceptable, I guess, because all arcade games used to be hard. But paying $50 for a game and then sitting down and you're repeatedly getting shown how bad you are.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how well people would take that, especially not now. They're so used to this handhold, and we got a whole developer out here that wants his handheld during the game. And I'm like, bro,
right.
Everybody don't make games like you, bro.
And we're vocal about it.
That made no sense. It made no sense.
But that's why I was like, that's why I brought it up because of the situation where, look, we're in a time now where people do want to play some of those older games, and the best way to do that is to kind of is to either do a remake or a remaster, And for instance, like Nintendo normally uses Grezzo for that.
Yeah.
So I think Grezzo can pull it off, but with certain series, I just don't think it's going to sell like F-Zero. I don't think F-Zero is going to sell like that. I'm sorry, I just don't.
And to be honest with you, I think it will probably be more productive for Nintendo to just approach Sega and say, hey, look, I need y'all to go get Amusement Vision back together to do whatever y'all need to do. The half of that Virtua Fighter team, get them together so we can just make a sequel to it so people will shut up and go from there.
Right.
And if they don't buy it, then, because doing a remake, it's almost guaranteed that it won't sell because the game is going to be hard. People are going to know that it's hard up front versus a new game where they're like, oh, well, maybe it might be a little bit of a learning curve.
Right.
Because everybody remembers what the old games were. They were not kind to you. So
no, not at all.
No.
And I thought that GX and AX were kind of lending a hand, if you will, as far as going forward. Yeah, the courses were more faster and stuff like that, but I thought that it was more forgiving, even though it was breakneck speed. I thought it was more forgiving than say OG F-Zero, because OG F-Zero, you playing a king course on the highest difficulty, bro. You can't make a mistake, not one.
Right.
So
you got to be good off the gate.
Yeah,
and that's just not. One screw up, and you're never gonna.
You could at least drift a little bit in AX. So you could, GX AX. You could at least drift a little bit to make up for some of your mistakes. But yeah, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing in OG F-Zero, and F-Zero X was rough too.
And that was the thing. That's the thing with Nintendo's series. I mean, we talked a bit about this before, to where I felt like they could have your friendlier games that you can get into, and then the hardcore games that people claim they don't make. So, I mean, even when you look at the hardcore games, they're not anything that you just jump into. It is really going to be a learning curve. And I always put Metroid and F-Zero into that category, and to an extent, sometimes Donkey Kong, if you really want to 100% Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah.
It can be done, but like you said, there are certain series that just wouldn't, even with the Switch effect, this still wouldn't be.
I think we've established the fact that the people that identify themselves as hardcore gamers are actually casual gamers.
Right.
You're like, oh, I'm a hardcore gamer. What do you play? Oh, I play Neo and Dead Souls and Sekiro. I said, oh, those got tutorials. Okay. Yeah. All right. Did you beat Friday the 13th from LJN on the NES? They like, no. Oh, okay.
Did you play the OG Ninja Turtle game on the
OG Ninja Turtle? Yes.
Good luck.
Right.
Did you play Wolverine Adamantium Rage on SNES?
Thank you.
The game that truly was broken. Now that game was broken.
If you have not beaten any version of Bad Dudes, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't talk.
I'm talking about Bad Dudes by yourself, not with nobody that's human.
Straight up.
Co-op.
No help.
No. Contra 3, the Alien Wars. Anybody want to go? Anybody want to do that?
Battletoads is a pain in my ass.
Don't get to the second speed bite and then say you beat the game. Nah, bro. Did you see Dark Queen? If you didn't see Dark Queen, I don't know what to tell you. So
Battletoads 94.
Yes.
Even if you want to talk about something recent, Crash 4. Like, you think you beat the game when you beat the final boss, but those levels on the back end, oh my goodness, that game is a pain in the ass. Like the transition, now that you're familiar with all the powers, now there's levels to where you have to utilize all those powers one after the other. And it is a pain.
I like that because that's akin to Mario Galaxy. Galaxy 2, actually, because I think Mario Galaxy 2 kind of turned it up even more because it's just like, you got this Rainbow Mario now, but you got to use him to make it through this without dying not once. You can't even get hit, and that's you got to be able to use the tools that are given to you.
Right.
A la the non-flood stages in Mario Sunshine.
Yeah. I love those stages.
Yeah. Get your platform on.
Chanel, you are absolutely right. That Maximum Carnage Paint Pound Red. Bruh,
hold on.
Love the cartridge, but I kept that game right to the side, bro.
But I got a great cartridge that's harder.
Really?
That Spider-Man Arcade's Revenge, Spider-Man X-Men Arcade's Revenge.
Arcade's Revenge,
okay.
No, there's no tips. Like if you look in the manual just tells you what the characters do. That's it.
That's it.
You go play a stage. You play a stage with Wolverine. You have no idea what to do with Wolverine, and you're just fighting dudes over and over again, trying to stay alive, and then you end up dying until you figure it out. And then once you figure it out, you're like, oh, this is all I got to do. And then you play with another X-Man, and they don't tell you anything. You got to figure it out. So you playing with Cyclops, and you're like, what do I do here? And you just die repeatedly.
Yeah,
that's the only way to figure it out.
Because most of those games were set up like that to kind of keep you renting them, right?
Yep.
I know they're saying that with Lion King was like that.
Yeah,
Lion King was notoriously hard.
Lion King and Aladdin was done like that on purpose. It was done like that on purpose because
Lion King on Super Nintendo was pain.
Was like ridiculous,
just pure pain.
Now that does bring me to a good point, and I think I had this topic for the week too. Okay, so y'all gonna hate me for this, but Spider-Man is finally coming to Marvel's Avengers on the PS4, PS5.
2 years later.
Do you think it will make a difference? No. I personally do not, and I will say why I don't think it'll make a difference. You already got 2 Spider-Man games on that system that are way better than anything.
Also, I think everybody already realized that game was trash. As much as they tried to hype it, it's not.
Like I said, Miles Morales Spider-Man is off the chain, even though it's short as hell.
It's DLC basically.
It's basically it's the expansion pack. That's what it's the expansion pack. They just needed it to open up PS5 with. And the 2018 Spider-Man, those games are awesome. I don't know. Look, I get it. Sony does have principal rights in other media of Spider-Man, but if you really wanted to, you should have just put it out for everybody. I'm sorry. It's an Avengers game. It's not a Spider-Man only game. It's an Avengers game. So you should have made it.
I think when will Sony be done paying Disney? I think they got another 2 or 3 years.
No, it got re-up.
It just got re-up. Yeah,
it got re-up because remember, they wanted to. They redid the deal so they could get this last Spider-Man movie and keep using Tom Holland for a couple other movies. So they had to redo the deal. So I think it's gonna last for a little bit longer.
I need that Disney Thanos snap so they can go ahead and get Spider-Man. So we can do this Spider-Man X-Men movie and keep moving.
The problem is I don't think Sony would be, to be completely honest, Sony would be stupid to give that up now because that's what's giving them free money.
Well, they won't have a choice if Disney just says you can't have it anymore once the contract's up.
Well, another thing too is everybody saw that $71 billion that they paid, but I don't think people understand that wasn't just for X-Men and Fantastic Four. That was for a whole lot of other stuff too.
And licensing and merchandise.
So not gonna Disney ain't giving Sony $2 billion for Spider-Man. They'll probably give them like 5. They'll probably give them 5, but they're not because they don't. The only thing they have is like the games and live action rights. Mm-hmm. Anything animated, Marvel's like, yeah, y'all can do it, but if I want to make if they want to make something and put on Disney Plus, they can't say nothing. So
who bought Into the Spider-Verse? Like who?
That was
I don't know what studio that was. Sony studio.
That was Sony, but once again, it was one of them situations where Marvel just didn't care. They're like, yeah, go and do it, because I think they had already had that plan from before the deal came up. So, because them animated films take about 5-6 years,
to
get done. So,
and I feel that needs a sequel just because they built all that.
It's getting one.
Mm-hmm.
It's already getting one.
Yep.
Yeah. They might as well because you
built
it
and fast tracked it. So, because I mean. You kind of have to. They need to make a video game. We're gonna get into that though. But
at this point, Spider-Man coming finally is great for the fanboy wars to go back and forth. But honestly, it's not gonna do nothing with the game.
Yeah, because once again, if they truly owned Spider-Man, he wouldn't have been in Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
No.
And in Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it's Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy, and Miles Morales.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't like it's just. So. That's what I'm saying. They could have put it to everybody because
I need to play that game. Jesus.
Yes, I've told you I will help you out to get you what you need. So just let me know. But yeah, that's why I wanted to ask about it because this Marvel's Avengers situation has just been ridiculous. To be fair, I don't know why they decided to go the Destiny Diablo loot route with this.
Well,
just made an adventure game.
I'll give Square credit for jumping out on the ledge of doing something different. Yeah. At least making an attempt. Because with a game like this, yes, we agree the Marvel Ultimate Alliance way is the best way to do it. But everybody's going to try to put their chips in when they have that much money on the table. Yeah. You're going to try to recoup as much as possible. And DLC is only going to get you so far. But it was a nice shot. It was a nice try. With this Guardian of the Galaxy game, apparently a lot of people are liking it.
Yeah. So it's a more focused story, and it's just
exactly
single player. What they should have did with Avengers. So, I don't. Once again,
it's the second take, so maybe they can learn from their previous mistakes.
Exactly. All I know is I don't want them touching the X-Men.
I just don't see Square as the team to do something like this, though. Because even when it got announced, I was like, Square?
That was kind of weird.
Yeah, I didn't understand it.
Well, and I for a company that's hemorrhaging money, they damn sure be getting a lot of projects.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, every project they get is like, I don't know why their budget is so high if you're hemorrhaging money like that.
I think they made decent amount of money on the games they release. It's just they spend way too much on advertising and licensing. I think that's the majority of their problem.
And on top of that, because you got to remember, Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15 was in development for like 15 years apiece.
That's years of licensing that you're paying to keep up, and that's a lot of money.
And that's why there's no Final Fantasy characters in freaking Kingdom Hearts 3,
which makes no sense. Weird. Yeah, so weird.
But it came out on PS3. I kept telling people, but I like Square, but at this point, I really do think somebody probably needs to buy Square to save them from themselves.
Yeah.
At this point, about it back again. They could just join with Brownie Brown. We can put them right side by side, or Monolith. Actually, they can
definitely Monolith for sure.
At this point, I'm just like, because there's, I don't want to see them go nowhere, but they keep doing this. They ain't gonna be able to sustain themselves. I'm sorry, I just don't see how they get out of this without going bankrupt.
Yeah, because
remember they made Kingsglaive, the Final Fantasy 15 movie,
right? Yeah,
they make all this other stuff that just costs money.
Mm-hmm. What happened to that RPG that they were making where you there was a giant dragon and you had to go below the ground, and from their Luminous engine that was supposed to be a PS4 game.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because they advertised the hell out of it and just never came up.
That never happened. I wonder if they still have their project because that's a lot of artwork that they made just for that one vertical slice.
Because they were even using that as advertisement as, I can't defeat this. Let me pass it to a buddy. to finish this level for me. But yeah, that just
they were selling their engine with it too, because they were trying to get. They're like, hey, look, this is our engine, and we're going to make all our future games with this, and they made nothing with it. So
yeah, Square is one of those, like, they've been around for so long. I don't want to see them go anywhere either. Like, I would love to keep all good companies around, as many companies as possible. But if Square doesn't find some type of focus, then they're going to lose it. Because, I mean, Octopath Traveler is not going to do a lot for them. Project Triangle is not going to do a lot for them.
It'll do a lot for me, but
it'll do a lot for us as consumers. But as far as them as pockets, no. I mean, that's why they keep riding on Final Fantasy. I mean, but I think that's why I'm worried about 16.
Yeah, but I think that's half the problem though, because I'm like, dude, like, okay, yeah, it's cool to have a Final Fantasy game, but you ain't got to do all of that extra stuff too. Because
right.
Like I said, like for 15, there's a movie, there's like a 3-4 episode anime OVA, there's all this other stuff, so that stuff has to be paid for.
And you have to watch it to get the whole story.
Yeah,
you have to.
If they just want money, the obvious answer is a sequel to Super Mario RPG. They just have to talk to Nintendo.
Yeah.
And
everybody want to see Geno again. Everybody.
And I don't see Nintendo saying no to that. I really don't.
The
problem is, do you think Square can do this without spending $500 million? That's the problem.
I think Nintendo will keep them in check.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm like. It's just one of those things, because like the Dragon Quest 3 remake they're doing with HD 2D, perfect.
Yep.
But I think they're making those games to try to kind of offset that stuff, because I don't think it's expensive to make. Those games. They
figured out a way to make a cheap engine to.
Yeah, but I'm build. Like, but if you still gonna be making like Final Fantasy 16, I don't know what the cost of it is, but I'm pretty sure it's probably over $100 million.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
More than likely.
I'm like,
because I mean, they got money from Sony on that one at least, but you know, I mean, you look at the obvious ones when we talk back to the remasters, remakes, Chrono. Like,
Chrono.
There's no reason why that game hasn't had the Resident Evil 4 effect of every console is going to get touched. The Skyrim effect, like it's going to bless every console from here on out. Like, there's no reason.
At some point,
there's no reason.
Hey guys, Chrono Trigger done.
Yep,
just go from there.
Well, because at this point, because once again, this is going to have to get the remake treatment, because I mean, it's going to have to. And I'm not talking about the Final Fantasy 7 remake treatment. I'm talking about just do a regular remake. We don't need nothing. We don't need episodic Chrono Trigger.
So they can do Chrono Trigger in HD 2D. I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, they can do that too.
But I think that they would. So would you do because at this point, I just say just screw that ATB combat. Just do an action RPG and call it a day.
Yep.
Screw that ATB mess. I hated the ATB. Look, it worked when it was on the PS1 and sometimes on PS2. Now, just either turn-based or action RPG. Just make up your mind. Just make up your mind on it. So,
is it crazy that the Tales engine has lasted as long as it has?
No,
they were ahead of their time. You talking about a 6 megabyte Super Nintendo cartridge, and they went from that to it still works. It still works well.
I mean, because they figured out what works. They know they ain't got the money like that, and so they tweak their engine a little bit. So they do enough to make each game feel different, combat wise. They do enough.
The combat flow is the same, but it evolves.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you get the same kind of combat, but there's little tweaks done to it, because Tales of Graces is different from Symphonia, it's different from Vesperia, but it's still the same style. Berseria, Xillia, Zestiria, all of them same style. You know what to do, but it's just a little bit of tweaking here and there.
They all feel like Fantasia in their own way.
Square Enix, they like screw everything, put all of it in CG, put all of it. I need the top of the line, everything. Well, sir, we don't have an engine for that.
They're like,
how much longer is it gonna take us to make that engine?
Probably like those people that left us and made Xenoblade. They made one. Can we just kind of like do half of that? And we tried to do their world engine in 15, but can we go do a little bit of that? Like, I don't blame
at this point, I honestly believe like Square Enix, they be in they business meeting. They're like, okay, so how much the engine cost? That's too cheap. I need something more expensive.
Raise it up.
Raise it up. I need a more expensive engine. Like, but sir, that's going to put us in the ring. We're already bleeding.
We need to be as pretentious as possible.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, they literally be shooting for the moon. Like they want to strike it rich off rip, and it is what it is. Like even what Trinell was saying is their budgeting is the problem. Like it's just awful. And when you look at stupid stuff like Final Fantasy, all the Final Fantasies that people have been looking for go to mobile first. Like, whose idea was that? Like even for a person like myself, I'm getting into mobile gaming because I've kind of neglected it for so long, but I'm trying to get into it, and there's a handful of games like I won't play Genshin Impact on console, but I'll play it on mobile. But it's just one of those things to where I think Square is trying to be on board when it does pop off, but it's not happening with the things they're putting on there.
Yeah. Ray, Exilia is good. I don't know why people have the haterade for it, but I enjoy it. That's just me.
When you sat down and you showed me how the combo system worked, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because I thought that it was going to be different. It is, but it really still has the same roots.
Yeah, it is, but it's not really. Yeah. That's what if the Tails teams, because I think it's 2 Tails teams, if they want to throw some stuff everywhere, like I've been saying, Grace's should have been on it because it was on the Wii back in Japan. Yep. Grace's elf should come. Like I think they can go back and pull like what Square Enix did with all the Final Fantasies and putting them everywhere now. Tails need to do that.
Right.
They need to put all this stuff everywhere now. Which means I need to get my Symphonia back for freaking Nintendo. I need to get my Grace's Elf anyway. Because that game is so good, man. I really wish people would have had a chance to play it.
Who's publishing with them now? Are they still working with Namco or are they working with somebody else?
No, they're still Namco.
Still Namco?
Yeah, they're still Namco.
I think they need to find somebody else with a bigger budget because Namco, they tend to be weird with where they act like they can't publish everywhere and they can.
Yeah, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, y'all can't, you can't publish Soul Calibur 2 HD to Wii U. Why again?
Like publishing Pac-Man 99 on Switch only in Japan and Nintendo's fronting the check here. That's just weird. I don't get that.
And I don't think that they're not hemorrhaging money. From what I understand, Bandai ain't hemorrhaging money. So,
and as long as they own Pac-Man, they'll always have a check. So it's
right.
Them Pac-Man arcades ain't going nowhere.
Mm-mm.
And I think Arcade 1UP got a couple of them now. So I'm like, people buying them.
Yeah, right. Pac-Man plus Galaga, and that's it.
That's it. So okay, so there is one more thing I actually wanted to hopefully I could get into, and that was one, and I thought Sanson was going to be joining us tonight because I know he wanted to talk about it, but it's Jump Force. Bandai Namco, they're shutting down their servers in early 2022.
Fighting Game of the Year?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Per Jeff Keighley.
Yeah. So they offered their sincere thanks to everybody. And they said that, because I'm looking at this on NintendoLife.com, they're going to be shutting down the servers on it February 7th, 2022 for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Nintendo Switch. The online servers will be sunsetting on August 24th, but all single-player functions will continue to be playable locally. So basically, you're not going to be able to, because it's getting delisted.
Yeah. So
here's my thing, because didn't we have this discussion a while ago about now I'm glad this has a single player game to it.
Yeah.
I'm glad, because before I think it was originally, if I'm not mistaken, initially they wanted it to be like an online game only.
Yeah.
And now people love to sit and say oh well, we need the games because if something happens to the servers, you're not gonna be able to play the game. At this point, I don't think it matters because if they kill the servers anyway, you screwed anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Local multiplayer.
Yeah, because I'm like, you're gonna have to. Because I'm thinking you're gonna have to get this digital, because that game ain't on the whole cartridge or the whole disc. I think that game is 60-something gigs. I think.
Yeah, I think it was what 10 gigs on a cart, and then the rest you download.
Yeah. So I'm like, you got to do it digital.
along with the DLC and everything else too.
Yeah. So if you're gonna get this game, if you're interested in getting, I suggest you go on and get it now.
Yeah.
But I think Nintendo still holds the rights as far as the eShop thing goes. So I think it'll still be on eShop until they pull the plug all together. Pull the plug
completely, yeah.
Yeah, and then so you just won't be able to play online, but you should still be able to pull it as long as you bought the game. You can download the rest of it. I would imagine.
I would hope
for the foreseeable future, anyway. Yeah. I would do that as quickly as possible before they pull it.
Yeah, that's my other thing, because look, one of my big complaints about these gens ever since 7th was the size of these games are getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people like, oh well, I got to get physical because that way I'll still be able to play a game. Like, it doesn't matter. That whole game ain't on that disc. That's
the biggest problem with Nintendo and 10th generation. Like, how are they gonna? Because the extra ROM cartridges aren't getting any bigger. Best case scenario is they're 64 gigs by default. Whatever new platform they end up using, and that's still not enough.
I will say this: at least the cartridges are getting cheaper, but you're right, they're not getting bigger size.
They're not getting bigger.
They're getting cheaper though, but they're not getting bigger. So I mean, at this point, what do you do? Because everybody keeps saying they want 4 and 8K, not realizing that they don't want that. So if you keep up with the trends, which Nintendo will have to do at some point anyway, because that's how the industry is going to be pulled anyway. Now we all know they're masters of compression, but at some point you're gonna have to say, okay, dude, what do you do?
Because they would have to do, unfortunately, is have some type of program for third parties. Because Nintendo, we know they could operate within that, right? Yeah, even if they design for 4K, they can figure out how to make a game for 20 gigs and it'll still work.
Yeah,
but these third parties, they got 720p games on 360 that are close to 100 gigs, and they don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing all the resources at stuff, and I'm like, this game is rendered per frame, right? You don't need all this. You don't need all this data.
Junk code and stuff, because I think it's all object oriented now. I don't think it's hard coded now. I think it's all object oriented.
It's all middleware, and they just have everything thrown on there, and they don't load this stuff the way that they should.
Yeah, so there's a lot of junk code. Once you clear out some of that junk code, then but people aren't doing that.
Again, as Mark Cerny tried to tell people, it's how we're going to program the game. If you program the game the way we program it, there would be no load times on PS5, and that kind of situation. But it takes this kind of change, not actual technology change. People have to make the games in the toolkit the way that they should be made. And I mean, Nintendo been trying to get people to do that for years. They're like, hey, make them like how we're making them. Look at our SDK. Like, you shouldn't be limited because we're not limited. Right. Like, well, it's only 88 megs. How do you guys do that? Well, the system is only 480p, bro. Why do you need more than 88 megs? And that's just.
Well, didn't Kamiya and Hideki Kamiya and Katsuhiro Harada say that?
Yeah,
they said that during the Wii U generation. They said that now. They were like, look, Nintendo's not hard to make games for. But then anonymous EA senior developer says it is. But two people that have actually worked on it, that you can see their faces and their names, are telling you it's not as hard.
It's not difficult. Look at Saber Interactive making all this money.
Yeah.
And all they did was just say, you know what, we'll just be dedicated Nintendo Switch developers. And you want a project with us, we'll port it.
Yeah. I mean, look, they made money. Panic Button made money. Panic Button, it's not that hard to port. This stuff can work. Like, y'all saying this stuff can't work. Yes, it can. Doom, yes, it can work.
Especially since now the majority of the issues with instructions is CPU bound stuff, and the CPU is more than capable. You just change your code. So whether you have to switch from big endian to little endian, or whether you have to switch from, hey, you have all these threads, to, hey, get rid of all these dummy threads and make them work on just 3, and then go from there. And it's simple. It's once you, I really encourage everybody to watch more than one time the post-mortem for Saber Interactive and what they did with Witcher 3 on Switch. Just watch it, listen, watch it again, listen. They tell you exactly what happened. And the majority of the issues you hear about these quote-unquote specs is stuff that developers did, just throwing shit up there.
Yeah.
So they make something for the Xbox One, or they make something for the PS4 as a lead platform, and they just throw shit on cores that's just sitting there. I'm like, the PS4 has its own DSP. Why are you putting audio threads on the CPU?
Right.
Just dumb shit like that. And of course, the Switch has its own DSP too. So why would you have it processing audio on the CPU? Like, same thing for Wii U as well. Like, they have their own DSP. Why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. And then they do it, and they have those threads sitting there waiting on certain actions to happen inside of a game. And then that's just more CPU overhead that you don't even need. And of course, it's taking RAM too, because the CPU has a processor. It has to wait for it to go to memory and then come back. So why saturate memory? Why saturate cores for stupid shit like that when you could just build a more streamlined game based around how the system is built, and and go from there? Because they didn't even build it the right way for Xbox One and PS4, if that's the case, because they didn't need those extra threads for that. So it's just crazy. And then they have the nerve to say, oh well, this couldn't even run the start screen for this game, blah blah blah. Like, bro, you didn't even utilize what you had.
Right.
Y'all over here just throwing, whatever, man. I can have those kind of conversations for days, but it's
it done got to a point now where you just I sit and I look and I'm like, that's all I can say at this point. I'm like, dude, it's not as simple and it's not as hard. It's a complex situation, but sometimes some of the stuff that's going on is not real complex. If you just take the time to look at it.
What is Gwen saying in the chat? Did they paywall that conversation now? Like, because I had it saved on my browser, and I watched it a couple of times, like not too long ago, maybe about a month ago. If it's locked behind a paywall now, that's kind of bad.
Yeah,
that's messed up.
Okay.
That's messed up.
Huh.
Yeah, it was free for a long time, so I don't know.
Hey, they had the opportunity to look at it.
Yeah,
I guess.
Hey, look, man, we gave y'all a chance. God dang it.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think along with this, outside of like third-party developers, I think the most frustrating part is those that really want the Switch Pro for a multitude of reasons. And they look at Nintendo's games and say, oh, well, these games are starting to run bad. I'm like, what game are you talking about? Because if we're talking about Hyrule Warriors, okay.
That's the engine, man.
It's the engine. And even then, that's still not Nintendo. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, if I see newer games popping up and they're running great, then you have to start looking at the optimization. You have to look at the developer in itself, because we've had this conversation before. At what point do you blame the developer versus the system? Because now
they would never do that.
Everybody is in, I guess you could say, from what I've seen, everybody's on the same page when it comes down to this Grand Theft Auto trilogy. Yeah. Everybody's on the same page that Rockstar, whoever they sent this out to, messed up bad on anyone, because I'm playing San Andreas on Game Pass. I'm glad I didn't spend money.
So, and I'm gonna say this again because I was frustrated about this yesterday on Sandstorm's podcast. Why does it take Sony and Microsoft to have bad versions of the game for you to just finally then say it's a bad port?
Exactly.
Why can't you say that whenever it's on Switch?
Because it's numbers.
Well, it's the specs. It's clearly the specs. No, how about these motherfuckers don't know what they're doing?
Yeah,
and they.
I mean, at this, because they had to put out a thing talking about they got patches on the way, because it's across the board. Like even PC, it's across the board. And once again, I said this last night on Sandstorm's cast. I'm like, dude, nobody asked for this, so there could not have been time. Yeah, there could not have been a deadline you had to meet, because we didn't know. Ain't nobody know about this game.
No, I mean, you heard rumors, but rumors.
But that was the thing. Like, nobody really had like hard evidence that this was coming out. So you had enough time to send it to quality assurance, make sure you can test it, make sure it looks right before it came out.
The way this vocal minority talks, they talk like Nintendo isn't good at developing and their games are kiddie, right? So if that's the case, when these pro developers port their third-party games to Nintendo hardware, they should look better than Nintendo's games, right?
They should.
They should run better than Nintendo's games, right?
That never happens.
Never happens.
They should be optimized for Nintendo's console better than Nintendo's games, right? That means we won't have textures popping all over the place. We won't have slow loading or any of that kind of foolishness, right? We should, because they're better developers, right?
Yep.
It's just strange to me. The conversation never goes that way. It never does. They just
I would put EAD and Garage up against anybody out the West.
But this is why you'll never have that conversation, because when it comes down to the game I purchase, it's a lot different than me paying $400, $500 for that system. So I will refuse to believe what I just paid is the problem. Like it's not that's not the problem. I just gave you $500. It better not be the damn problem. It's the game. So that's where you're gonna always see it. So when it comes down to Nintendo, we go back into the conversation piece of buzzwords and all this hype, to where I can go and tell you right now, I know somebody that has a 3090, and there are some games that still run like crap because they're not optimized properly.
Mm-hmm.
But because 3090 is at the top tier right now in people's minds, there's no way it's the 3090's fault. But because the Switch doesn't do 4K, it doesn't do ray tracing, it doesn't have the latest specs from a system standpoint, then it's got to be the problem. It's got to be the issue.
Which makes no sense to me, because that system is literally overkill for 720p. So in 720p, it should be flawless. And if we see any issues, then garbage in, garbage out, because it's just a machine at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So Neon Falcon got Treasure Coast Steel 3, 4, and Yeast 8 and 9 to play.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, when you look at it, I mean, there's real PC gamers that I know, they will choose 1080p for more frame rates any time of the day. So they're not into the whole 4K this.
All that. They're choosing Sub HD in a minute, because I'm pretty sure they're going on Steam Deck, right? So now all of a sudden Sub HD is great because Steam Deck. Now it's fine.
So if your game can't run on Nintendo 720, 1080, whatever, then like we said, you got too much going on. You have too much, a lack of optimization. But we've said before, this needs to be the lead platform. You won't have these problems. But because you have to continue that trend, because I don't see a world yet to where you can neglect Sony and Microsoft. You just can't.
I just think that if they do that, they're giving up the game. If they go to a situation where they just say, look, Switch is killing it, Switch is continuing to kill it, PS5 been out here, Series X been out here, and Nintendo is still winning. We should probably make them lead platform. If they do that, then everything's taken away, because now everything is built for Switch. And then you're porting to other platforms, and the only thing you have against them is higher resolution. All the games are also on Switch at this point now. There's no third-party game that can't be there for insert reason here, because they're all starting there, and then they port up. So that being the case, what is the advantage at that point? Because you're still playing on an HD TV, you'll just be playing in 1080p versus 4K or what have you. And do you want to play the game where you can just dock it, play it in 1080p, take it on the go, play it in 720p, or do you want to have all these other multitude of options where you're playing it on this platform that plays in 4K sometimes, or 4K 30, or 4K 60?
Well, now at this point it's 4K 30, because like I told y'all when I was getting them the emails from Square and Ubisoft about Assassin's Creed and Avengers. If you want to play in 4K, it's locked at 30.
Yeah, and that's with or without ray tracing, because then we start adding those layers of that foolishness too. So
so if you want to
play ray tracing,
if you want to play 60 or 120 frames a second or whatever, you had to play it in 1080. You couldn't play it in 4K. So that's why I was like, we got to stop listening to these buzzwords, man. We gotta stop doing that.
And then they say, "Oh well, I'm playing with ray tracing." Oh, okay. What features are ray traced? And they're like,
the
water, shadows. Oh, okay. Can you do both at the same time? No, I got to pick whether I want shadows or water or surfaces. Oh, okay. Do you have reflections too? No, that's separate. I gotta back out and go into a different menu for bruh.
Yeah.
Or you could just play the game and see if it's fun or not.
Yeah, we shouldn't be at 4K yet. We really should not be at 4K right now.
No,
we should not be there.
Because I was talking to a buddy of mine. It's like, this generation ain't about resolution and graphics. It's about performance.
Yeah,
it's not about. That's why I was like, this doesn't make any sense to people saying, when we got into the whole conversation about Kingdom Hearts, there's no excuse why 1 and 2 remix is not on the Switch.
There's no reason.
There's no reason. I will give you 3. I will give you 3 being cloud version. I'll give you that. But there is no excuse for 1 and 2. I'm sorry.
One time Square decides not to spend money, it'll be on the Switch, which is stupid. Like one time you decide not to blow a whole bunch of money. Like, okay.
I can promise you that game would sell
Oh yeah, for sure.
I gotta tell the truth real quick too. The average gamer is not a YouTuber like us. They don't game on the screens that we're podcasting on right now. They game on a TV in their living room.
Yep.
And on a TV in their living room, the difference between 1080p and 4K, depending on how far away they are from their couch, is kind of nominal. The color spectrum is a little bit wider, especially if you have HDR enabled. But other than that, to the average person, if you take a 75-inch screen in my example, right, and you play a 1080p video or a 1080p game versus a 4K game, the difference is not night and day. Not like how it used to be from 480p to 720p or 1080p. It's a little bit. You have to find what the differences are. And nowadays, especially if you can get more performance at 1080p versus the same problems in 4K, why would you choose 4K?
Right.
Well, the other thing too that I found to be funny about it is like when they do those, I love to see those like comparison videos, like, oh, look how it looks in this and this. I'm like, what TVs are you using the same TVs?
Mm-hmm.
You see, sometimes it'll be a Samsung TV versus the LG. That does make a difference because they're not using the same. If you're using a 4K TV and you got a Vizio against a Samsung, that Samsung's going to look better. I'm telling you off top. I have a Vizio. I'm telling you that Samsung's going to look better.
Unless you get the Pro Series Vizio, and you might as well get the LG or the Samsung at that point if you're going to spend that kind of money.
Yeah. So I'm like, and
I got lucky. I found mine at a different price, but
but that's what I'm saying. Like when you start looking at them, a lot of these like comparison videos where they be trying to show you, like, oh well, this looks horrible. I'm like, what TVs are you using the same TVs? Because most of the time you come to find out they're not.
Yeah, right. Bad panel. They have bad panels, and then they're making that complaint based off of them having bad equipment.
Yep. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of crazy. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. That's why I'm like, I don't try to get into the whole graphics thing. In this generation, like I said, this ain't gonna be about graphics.
No,
this is never gonna be about graphics.
I made the post on Twitter the other week. I said, oh yeah, y'all got all these great graphics and everything. I said, it'd be great when y'all fix invisible walls though. We got all this high power. We got these CPUs that can do, and these GPUs that can do ray tracing. Can you ray trace away invisible walls? Can we build a game map that's connected all the way around so I don't have to worry about running into some imaginary shit? Can we do that?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, like, if you just optimize your game and learn your engine in and out, you shouldn't have a problem. That's why I get mad when I see people say, oh, well, look at this guy. He put Breath of the Wild in 4K and just looks so much better. I'm like, there's no gameplay.
None.
He's just walking. It's basically a freaking movie.
Here I am with 1 gig of RAM on a Wii U, and I can't find a single invisible wall in Xenoblade Chronicles X. It's a seamless connected world. You can't find that one.
You can't find it in Torn of the Golden Country. You can't find it in XE2. You can't find it in Breath of the Wild. You can't find it in. I can keep going, but
like the closest thing to an invisible wall is you can't actually swim underwater in Xenoblade Chronicles X. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. Other than that,
I'd be afraid to swim underwater.
Yeah, you don't want to know.
There'll be something down there.
Yeah, it's enough trouble above ground.
Yeah. A level 99 cracking down there.
While we talking about Xenoblade, that was the first game that I've ever experienced to where you can just walk yourself into trouble. Because like you said, you other games will just block you off. Oh, you can't go here yet. Yeah. It's not time for you to go here yet. I'm like, even with Xenoblade, you can be at some of the first 2 missions,
level 1,
and run past something. I'm like, yo, did that say 75? Are you serious?
Yep.
Like, let me go further over here on this side.
My name is Gonzalez. Welcome to death.
And you're glad they didn't see you. You're glad they didn't see you. Because sometimes you be running from them, and next thing you know, you just hit zero. Like, it didn't even touch me.
Right. I was like, I'm not even in your area. Like, come on, dude. And then your team trying to fight. I'm like, are you serious? Like, come on now. Because I think the first time I saw it was that big monkey on X. And I'm like, he's like 80 something or 90 something.
81.
Like,
he's 81. I know him.
Like, dude, like, what? Why are you here?
Like, he's right outside.
Just sitting there just chilling.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, cool. What type of monster is he? And they was like, oh, he's one of those. If he sees you on sight, he's coming after you.
He's a tyrant.
It's on site, bro. It's on site.
Their version of a unique mustard.
It's on site, cuz. It's on site, cuz. Wait,
what
you doing over here, cuz?
And so the other thing is there's like little like level 10 enemies or whatever right next to them or whatever, but they alert buddies that are next to them. So if you're fighting him, he's like, oh, Gonzalez, hey man, he picking on me, bro. And
and you got two of them just sitting right there, high level. But the Dark Void. Okay, weird question. Do you think Xenoblade Chronicles X will ever come to Switch?
No.
The engine and the time and the money they've already said it's not going to happen.
And the other thing too is you need a gamepad.
Yes,
that game is gamepad reliant.
It's not like Splatoon where you can find some type of alternative and we can just hit X to switch screens. It's not the same.
For a great example, look at Zombie and Zombie U.
Yep.
And see the difference between the two of those games.
Night and day
difference.
And Zombie U, the suspense comes from having to look down.
Yeah, the game
because like you're playing, you're like, God damn it, I gotta move, and then you look up and he's in your face. Like, it's...
But IGN couldn't play it because it was tank controls. I hit Greg Miller.
That's an interesting guy, man.
How is dual analog tank controls? This guy, people just invent. Like, I'm like, tank controls obviously was RE1. Like, why would you say something with twin sticks is tank controls? Just get out of here.
Bro. The reason why they did that, because they talked to Mikami, the reason why they did that, because they was trying to make it where it was a horror movie. It's not supposed to be an action shoot 'em up.
The zombies are faster than you.
Yeah, which is what RE turned into from Code Veronica on. It turned into an action shooter. It's supposed to be a horror game. You're not supposed to be able to move that fast. That's what they did it on purpose for the atmosphere and to make you feel like, oh crap, I can't fight all this stuff. I just gotta run.
Yep.
But people don't understand that. That's why, like with Zombie U, I'm like, oh, this going back to that. That makes sense. Because it's a horror game.
That terror, I think I have more terror actually after you die, and you have to try to find it. Trying to make because you barely got anything. You trying to make your way back to your stuff, bro. That's.
I'm gonna watch a speed run of that tonight because that's one game I have not watched someone speed run with Zombie U. I'm gonna watch that. Let me see if somebody actually did that.
Zombie U ain't no joke, but people be trolling all the time though, because I think a lot of the speed runs I see, they always go across that little note that Ubisoft left saying they were gonna patch the game. It's like, hey, a patch coming soon, and it never happens. And people just go, they stream and they look at that, they're just like, hey, this thing, it never happened. So
that's wild. All right, so it's been over an hour, so y'all know how I don't like to keep people, too late. Sunday people gotta go to work tomorrow. So
yeah, I'm about to head out.
So I've been meaning to do the gift ideas thing. That's gonna be next week. So next week's podcast, we're gonna give you guys gift ideas because we're getting up to that time of year, the holiday season. People in the chat, if y'all want to come with some games that you feel that other gamers will enjoy, we'll try to get them read out on the podcast next week, because next week is straight up gift ideas. That's all. It's gonna be straight up gift ideas.
Going straight over Thanksgiving, straight to Christmas.
It's gonna be Black Friday, and that's what we gotta get into. So gonna try to help you guys out a little bit. Jack, anything you want to pimp out before you get out of here?
Nah, man. I mean, just trying to get into these games as much as possible. And like we said before, the biggest issue of having so many games to play and having the ability to play them is a pain sometimes.
Well, it's being an adult and having responsibilities. That sucks.
Yeah, that too. So I mean, like I said, with me, I mean, still got to finish Metroid. Still got to finish Scarlet Nexus, started up Genshin, still got to finish a whole bunch of games, man. But nonetheless, just continue to share and, spread the word about the show. And I know plenty of people that I had introduced to it, and they love the fact of how we're very neutral and we play everything for the most part on each system. We're not biased. And so they enjoy the lack of console wars in these conversations and also the humor behind it. So just spread the word if you want people to come over and find something that they want to watch and listen to on the podcast, as well on all streaming platforms as far as the podcast goes. Yeah. And they're just tired of the whole console war nonsense.
Yeah, the only wars we actually go off and actually go into is Back 4 Blood, pissing me off because of that them damn monsters. I hate them big one-armed.
Bro, I haven't picked it back up after me, you, and Brandon played it. Like that was just ridiculous. Bro, like just ridiculous.
I did. Let me address that too. For some reason, they've been having an issue with that. I don't know if it's on the PlayStation side. I played on the Xbox side of things. I played like 1 or 2 games. They play perfect, and for some reason, my 3rd and 4th game, it would just kick out. I don't know what's going on with that. I tried it again this weekend. Everything worked fine, but I only got 3 games in. So because I had to wind up having to do something else. But I'm gonna keep trying just to see before I ask to get everybody else involved again. So
this sounds like it's gonna be another Grounded for me, as well as it's another game that I just had to put down because I gotta wait for them to fix it.
They gotta wait for them to fix it. Yeah, I don't know. And it wasn't just us that was having that issue. So it wasn't just us thing. So yeah, I'll probably put some more gameplay of Back 4 Blood up as well. I just don't like playing with the AI. I'd rather have my boys playing with me. But
real quick before we jump off, I had to bring this up. What do you think about this emulation? Is it an issue with you on this 64 emulation or?
No.
Okay,
no.
I just want
only if somebody points it out. Did you play the emulation on Wii U?
Huh?
Did you play the? Everybody's played.
I did. Yeah, I played it on Wii U. Yeah.
Okay, it was a little subpar on Wii U.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't even that bad.
When you're playing, you don't really notice. It's the people that are complaining about this are people that have been following emulation on PC for the longest time.
And they like 1-to-1. Yeah,
exactly. As long as you're not following that, you're not really going to notice the stuff that they're noticing.
Dude, I'm playing with this.
And that's
I'm not gonna have a problem. I'm not gonna have a problem.
That's the intended way. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I can't map my buttons. I was like, but how would you really map them for real? Because it's set up in such a weird way. How would you map it?
Yeah, you can't. You can't. I'm lucky enough to have the controllers. So, and I would tell anybody if you're going to, if you are.
This worked, by the way. I was trying to tell you about that offline, but this worked and you can do PS1, PS2, or N64.
Oh, okay.
So I having the controller actually works better than trying to do this on a Switch Pro controller. I'm sorry, just being honest. It just works better. I do have to jump into
Mario Kart's kind of weird with the Pro controller.
Yeah, I haven't done Star Fox yet, but I have done Win Back. It works fine. I heard a rumor that they're trying to bring Perfect Dark and GoldenEye, and I will let y'all know as soon as if that does come.
You would need a 64 controller for both of those.
Yeah, I will, because I already know my stuff. The only problem I had, and I will tell this to anybody, I've gotten used to gyro assist aiming, so I had to get back into a groove of actually having to use a stick to aim. Other than that, that's the only thing. But yeah, the emulation is not bad. The people that's been complaining, I akin it to the Darksiders 3 issue on Switch. But the people that had their review copies, it wasn't patched. There was a day one patch that came out with it. Once the day one patch hit, the game played fine. I didn't notice a real true difference between that and the Xbox version.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was like Modern Vintage Gamer was talking about. Most people won't notice this, but speedrunners, why are you trying to speed run on an emulate? So that's my thing. If you're going to speed run, why won't you do it on the original cartridge?
They always do anyway.
That's what you're supposed to do.
How is it going to be legit? It's not going to be legitimate if you're not playing it on the original.
And for instance, with Ocarina of Time, this is like the 4th version of the game. It's not the original N64 version. It's the GameCube version. You can tell because it's extra shiny and extra glittery. If you played the GameCube version when they re-released it on GameCube. So
and those games had issues. The fog wasn't in all of that either. Yeah. So it's whatever. But they tried to convert it to the GameCube fog and it wasn't the same.
Yeah, it just wasn't. So, but I'm not having a problem. I do need to jump on Sin and Punishment, but I'm not having a problem. So all the people that was sitting up talking, I don't know what they're saying because I didn't have an issue. I have not run into an issue. Even with
I want to try this and see. I want to see how this. I know it'd be kind of weird to press the actual Z button, but I want to try and see how that goes. But just to see how it works. But
I'm not having an issue. So there's that. With me, I did shout out to Let's Switch Games. I did go in and get the Crisis bundle, so I will be trying that out this week. I will try out Crisis because I don't have a lot of first person shooters on the Switch, so I went on and picked that one up because I heard good things about it, and plus I saw a couple of videos, so I'm gonna have some gameplay up of that.
Do you have Far Cry? You don't game on PC, do you?
No, not on PC.
Okay, I was gonna say Far Cry was one of those. It was one of those must-haves on PC originally at the time. So when Crysis came out, it was basically the unofficial Far Cry 3 then at the time. So everybody wanted to try Crysis because of the advances over Far Cry 2. So it was just one of those things. But it was more graphical more than anything else. As far as the gameplay, it's a shooter. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you just need to have a nice shooter just so you can for those days when you need to release some stress.
I need to find me a good shooter. I need to.
Yeah. So and since Halo ain't dropping until the 8th, I needed something kind of now. So
both of y'all got Doom, right? Y'all got Doom and Doom.
I don't have Doom. I don't.
I know like for me, with Doom is like that fast pace.
But it's good. It's got motion. It's got motion and all that.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna sound like sad because I'm not the biggest Doom fan.
Me either.
Oh, okay. Right. So this one, you've tried this one though, right? The 20, the new Doom, because you can do the combos with multiple kills and all that.
Yeah.
You like moving through, and you just going from kill to kill to kill, kind of. So that can be addicting because they have the bonus levels where you do nothing but kills and you try to do them as quickly as possible. And in the later levels in the game, that's literally what you're doing. You're just moving from face to face to face, beating in faces and stabbing, cyber demons or what have you. So it can be pretty fun. But I would probably say it won't feel as home to you as say maybe like Splatoon is. Like Splatoon in your hand is just Splatoon.
Yeah, so I love Splatoon.
I don't know if one that's going to be as natural as that. Other than, Nintendo will just have to make one, I guess. But all the other ones are going to be also rans, and the support will vary. So like Wolfenstein is. Doom is really good though. Doom Eternal is really good on Switch. So I would recommend those to anybody that is playing a shooter on that console. I have not tried Crysis yet, but then those are games I played on PC. So and I'm mouse and keyboard those. There's no controller for me on those.
Like Call of Duty Mobile has been good for me so far. Like I just started playing it yesterday. And I'm not a biggest fan of Call of Duty, but Call of Duty Mobile has been pretty cool. Plus, I got the Razer Kishi, so it's been helpful too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice, good 585 gigs once we get on console.
Every time I turn around, I got to download something. I'm like, again? All right.
All right, Shadow, anything you want to pip out before we get out of here?
I just want to make my statement for the year. Travis touchdown for president. Also, that ending was amazing. The epilogue is amazing, and obviously there will be more to come. And somehow Nintendo was credited for publishing this game, only in the credits though. It's really strange that like thanks to Nintendo, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what's happening here? Why are they crediting Nintendo for this game? So,
because I think because that's where he makes his money.
Yeah, yeah, it is, but it's like. That's just really. It was a really strange mention at the tail end of the credits, but no, it's a really good game, and they are foreshadowing a lot of stuff. They touch on a little bit of it, and then they open a lot more stuff up towards the end. And just the way that you do the boss fights towards the end of that game are amazing. Like you think Jump Up Superstar, but for celebrating everything that's Travis Touchdown, and Travis Touchdown does nothing but make memes of other games. So yeah, and a game that came out on Switch will have a mega shout out towar's the end of this game.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yes,
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, because it kind of got leaked.
Yes, and there's a Nintendo spoof as well in it as well. So it's kind of interesting. Like the last boss fight will be like a familiar fighting game. But it's amazing tour de force, I think. So everybody needs to play that, especially if you play the first two No More Heroes. So a lot of people didn't play Travis Strikes Again, but I think y'all should do that too, so you have like the backstory.
Because you kind of need to play that to understand half the stuff's going on at the beginning of 3.
Yeah, so I would suggest playing all of them. And is No More Heroes 2 on Switch? I think they did
all of them on Switch.
All of them.
So both of them on it. I know they did one. I didn't know if they did both.
They did both. Because I need to. As a matter of fact, I need to finish 3, and I need to finish 2. On there,
2 is really good.
Yeah, 2 is but there's a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff I got to finish because my backlog is looking ridiculous just for Nintendo. Because I ain't even gonna talk about Xbox yet because I still got to get Tales of Arise. So
I got to do that too. So Tales of Arise is next for me, and then I have to do what I'm trying to think what the other game was that I wanted to get. It looks like a platinum game, but it's not a platinum game. I'm trying to think what the name of the game was. I just can't think of it right now. But it's basically I looked at it and I'm like, that looks like Bayonetta, but it's not, and it's for Xbox. I just can't think of the name of it right now.
And I gotta finish my second playthrough of Astral Chain. Please buy Astral Chain.
Yes, buy Astral Chain.
We got to keep saying that over and over again.
Yeah. We shouldn't have to say that.
Please buy that game. Buy Astral Chain. Buy Bayonetta. Buy these games because they could go bye-bye at any moment because they don't really sell them. They should. Yeah, they really should.
Even though Astral Chain did meet its sales expectation, we needed to sell more.
Yeah.
So I want that sequel. So, but
other than that, I may have a video. I don't know. I've been playing games more so than doing anything else. So y'all gotta bear with me because I will just play games. So you'll just see me online if you follow me on any of my little handles on here, and you randomly see me doing stuff like platinuming games on PS4, and you're like, he's a Nintendo guy. Why is he blah blah blah? And I'm like, well, it's not played. Yeah, you'll see me playing stuff on Xbox as well. So deal with it, and you'll see my Steam account updated as well. So, but no, it's I'll probably have something, if not tonight, maybe tomorrow. And then we'll go from there. And then at some point, I'll do a Shadowcast for the end of the year. We'll go from there. But yeah, play those games. And Metroid Dread is game of the year.
Yes, it is.
We know good well Jeff Keighley ain't gonna allow it to happen. All right, so see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping through. Thanks, chat, for being in chat. We do appreciate you. We do. Like I said, next week is going to be gift ideas. So we're just going to be talking gifts and games. That's what we're going to be talking about. No matter what happens, that's what we're going to be talking about. So please don't do that stupid next week.
Yes. And don't buy GPUs. The prices are not going to get cheaper.
No, they're not.
They're still expensive. Just wait.
Yeah. If you can afford to wait, just please wait. But we will see you guys next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace out.
Peace.